Do you remember 𝐼𝐴𝐬𝐬's Fate? A build I made years ago after Warlords of New York was released. Well, there's more to that story. It's been evolved to 𝐼𝐴𝐬𝐬's Revelation. Have you ever wondered, when facing Aaron Keener on Liberty Island, why every single one of his skills hits so hard no matter what? How he could use them at will, faster than the normal deployment cooldown times, not to mention his weapon hitting like a truck. Well, agents, I have found the secret, and I'm going to tell you exactly how to put it together real soon. After a very hard fight on Liberty Island, when Keener was on his last breath, he actually revealed this build to me once Agent 𝐿 turned her back. Now, why would he do such a thing, you may ask? Well, Aaron saw something in me, being that I like to periodically go rogue in the dark zone. He knew this about me through strategic intel. He knows that I feel that something fishy is going on with the SHD, and that it's not as cut and dry as the Homeland Division are pointing it out to be. Be that as it may, he saw hope in his cause continuing through me. So at this moment, I was recruited, and not only did he divulge this build, but also key information about everything that's happened and what's to come, much of which will be revealed in the foreseeable future. And it's all on this recording.
Agent Righteous, I've been watching you. You have a penchant for going rogue in the dark zone, questioning the narrative fed by the Homeland Division. I see a spark of rebellion in you, a flicker of doubt about the true nature of the SHD. There's more to the SHD and the Division's story than you've been told. I'm recruiting you because I believe you can see through the illusion. The SHD's agenda isn't as noble as they claim. There are deeper forces at play, and you're part of a bigger story. Embrace the truth, Agent Righteous. The future holds revelations, and together we can reshape the destiny they try to control.
Push up, let's push up. Sir. Got one. Got one. Get you off that cover, please. Get you off that cover, please. Who's next? Next. You got it. Well, you blinded me, but you still went down. Let's get it. Let's get it.
Okay, let's get this thing started, man. I am so hype about this build because I don't think people really realize what is happening in the division as far as how builds evolve and how great builds can actually get. So many people look at everything that's out there already and think that that's the only way to go. But I think this is actually the way to go in a lot of areas. And when I said that you can conquer any level of content, I mean that. And I mean it easily. I remember when I played Liberty Island a long time ago, and I played against Keener, and every single one of his skills were hitting hard, and he was hitting hard. And I'm like, okay, I have a build that I think can implement that, probably 95%. And I came up with this, and this build concept has been around for a long time. I started it maybe a year and a half ago with the King series of builds, and I made an attempt to use it in the Paradise Lost incursion. Now, before, it was 2 build types. I have both builds online, right, on YouTube. One of them is for the capacitor crit build, and the other one is for the oxidizer to use against the lovebirds, and the first part in the courtyard against the turrets. But that incursion inspired me to make this build completely evolved and ridiculously powerful. Now we're going to start with the capacitor because everything in this build connects. And the whole idea of the foxes and contractors not applying to skills, well, the foxes applies to certain skills and the contractors applies to certain skills separately, like the bleed hive or the seeker mines or something. Each skill except for the drone and turret is affected by either one of these damage to target shot of cover bonuses or damage to armor bonuses. The only one that works with both at the same time is the oxidizer. And the problem that I was having is that you either can go with the foxes contractors combo with less crit or the crit combo with more crit. But with this build I've combined them both, so I'm able to have almost maximum skill damage and maximum crit with the foxes and contractors combo. So I've combined both concepts into one build, which is why this is so powerful. I tried this out in PvP. I was getting some great damage, I was getting some kills, but honestly, if you want to play with this in PvP, you're gonna have to optimize it to the max in order to get more armor. And that's what I had with the chest piece. I was using a Fenris chest piece that was rolled to armor, which allowed me to have 936k armor, because I don't think 726k armor is viable at all in PvP. Let's just be honest. I mean, some may say 936 isn't even viable, but it's all about your playstyle. Anyways, let's get into this. The first thing I'm using is a technician specialization. Let's go over here and let me tell you why this is special, okay? You have something called in PvE dismantling. This is 12% damage to drones, skill proxies, and robotics. This is perfect for legendary content because all legendary content is Black Tusk based. And you can't go wrong with this, especially with the fact that I'm using the capacitor, which is an assault rifle. And don't forget that technician specialization gives you an extra skill tier, right? Okay, so this build is crazy. I just don't want to miss anything. All right, so the fact that I'm using the capacitor, this already has really great crit stats on it. Okay, conductive focal gives you 10% crit chance, and then discharge electro gives you 30% crit damage. This has weapon handling and 11 rounds. Okay, now the attributes on here are special because no other assault rifle has this. 12% damage to armor. It also has damage to health, which all assault rifles have, but a little bit less. But the fact that it has damage to armor and damage to health on it is pretty much golden, because the damage to armor stacks with the damage to armor on the contractor's gloves, giving me 8%, which gives me a grand total of 20. Now the capacitor, the talent is that the more skill tiers you have, the more damage that you deal. 7.5% weapon damage for each one. If you have 6 skill tiers, that's maxed. Shooting enemies gives you a stack of 40, which grants 1.5% skill damage. So you can get 60% skill damage extra total by just shooting the enemy, which is all you do in this game. This, by default, makes your skills stronger while you're using them. And the foxes and contractors gloves are going to benefit the capacitor's damage as well, no matter what. These bonuses benefit all damage to all weapons, no matter which one you're using. Okay, now I always felt like the capacitor was a DPS weapon that was skinned as a skill weapon, so it's the perfect hybrid setup. All right, now let me talk about the secondary, the black market sausage. As you know, this was very popular in Div 1 for strikers. I just like the way it fires. It's just one reload and you're good to go. I'm using this more of a utility rather than for damage, but you can use it for damage because this build is critted out, okay? It has 𝐸𝐴𝐷 on it, and 𝐸𝐴𝐷 works as such that hitting an enemy grants 15% skill damage for 5 seconds. Using a non-shield skill or damaging an enemy with a skill grants 15% weapon damage for 5 seconds. And it's doubled once these are active at the same time. So this gives you the possibility to almost triple your damage with your skill. Alright, so this is how I do it. When I'm using the Oxidizer, which is something insane with damage to targets out of cover and damage to armor, you shoot this on the ground towards the enemy, pull out the SASG or whatever other shotgun you want to use with 𝐸𝐴𝐷 on it. It's going to activate 𝐸𝐴𝐷 and it's going to apply the damage to armor and damage to targets out of cover bonuses on the shotgun's attributes. This only works with shotguns, which is why it's so crazy. So you're getting this bonus, 𝐸𝐴𝐷's bonus, and my backpack talents, combined arms. Shooting an enemy increases total skill damage by 25% for 3 seconds. So as long as you're shooting this 3 seconds is always going to reset. Now, of course, I'd like to have skill damage along with crit damage rolled here. By the way, everything on this build that you can is rolled to skill damage and crit damage. This way you can maximize on both damage types with crit chance mods. And this isn't min-max, so the crit can be more if you have a build like this and your pieces are maxed out. And this isn't hard to get this combination. You go to countdown and you'll get a few of them in one match for the pieces that you need. So in order to get the crit that you need, matter of fact, let me show you the stats right now, just so you could see because you're curious. Now, none of my pieces are maxed out. Some of them are, right? Even with that, I have 50% crit chance and 181% crit damage, and this is without any Coyote's mask or anything like that. So you can imagine how much this can go up when you're playing with a team, okay? And you can see why this build is so powerful. And if you want more skill damage, you could pull out the Maxim 9 with Perfect Spike, where headshots grant another 25% skill damage, okay? But let me explain to you how this works. This is the perfect hybrid. And in order to yield the right amount of crit damage, you want to have the brand pieces that grant you the values that you need in order to get the crit. Providence Defense gives you... This lady really just ran into me. Providence Defense gives you 10% crit chance for the second piece, which is why I have the backpack as well with combined arms. The chest piece, I would love for this to be road to armor, but this is how it is. And I would like it to be Fenris, but if it is Fenris, then I'm missing out on all that crit damage for the first piece, right? So this gives me 15% for the value, skill damage and crit damage with a crit damage mod. Now the chest piece talent is Obliterate. The reason why I have this is because I don't want to be too squishy. People say that they use glass cannon, they use other talents that will allow you to deal more damage right away. If you want to use glass cannon, you can. In fact, I recommend glass cannon in the incursion because you'll just deal way more damage, and that incursion is more so about going forward, dealing DPS as fast as you can. There's less strategy involved with killing the ads. But if you're out in the open world, if you're doing legendary missions, Obliterate is the way to go. I mean, I can't stress how powerful this build is more. Critical hits increase total weapon damage by 1% for 5 seconds, and it stacks up to 25 times. So you have the possibility to get 25% weapon damage. And you have enough crit, so you're going to get that in no time, right? The holster, 𝐦𝐨𝐫𝐞, of course you know, for the crit chance. This is how I'm able to get all of this crit chance and crit damage with this build. Before, I was using pieces like Empress International and skill pieces alongside the Foxes and Contractors, and this is why I wasn't able to yield the crit damage and crit chance values I needed to reach that cap. But with this setup, you're able to have both, the best of both worlds. And for the Contractor's gloves, of course you want to roll the crit so that you can get those values that you need. Roll to skill tier. Same with the Fox's Prayer. These are maxed out, by the way. Who doesn't have Foxes and Contractors maxed out? But the skills I like to use are these two. Now, of course, the damage to armor or damage to targets out of cover does not apply to the striker drone. I don't even think they apply to them separately, but I just really like the fact that this drone can reach any area on the map, especially when you're running legendary missions, going after those drone operators and snipers that are all the way in the back. The beauty of this build is that you can use any skill that you like. Now, damage to armor, I think applies to the Hive, the Bleed Hive, and the Chem Launcher, Firestarter, or maybe it's damage to targets out of cover. But like I said, you can use any one of these builds, any one that you feel comfortable with. And I'm always going to stay with the Oxidizer Chem Launcher in PvP and PvE. It's just too strong. I mean, with the fact that this damages skill proxies and causes damage over time and damages enemy armor, it just works and it just goes well with the Technician's dismantling perk. All of this stacks on top of everything. And when you're dealing with mini tanks and robotic dogs and chungas, they have that health, and the capacitor just melts through that because it has health damage and it's combined with all the bonuses on the build. So that's pretty much all I have to say about this build. I think that this is complete. I don't think there can be another skill DPS build that's stronger than this. Personally, I've went through a lot of variations of this, and honestly, this is the most powerful. So let me know what you think about this build down below in the comments. Let me know if you think there's any improvements that I can make to it. If this helped you out in any way, I'd appreciate a like on the video and subscribe to my channel. I'll see you in the next one. Be right out. Oh yeah, before I go, somebody has a message for you.
Camp White Oak was meant to be my end, but fate had other plans. I was trapped, pinned down, the division closing in. You closing in.
Come on. Talking noise?
It seemed like my final stand, the end of the line. That's when Keener stepped in. A shadow amidst the chaos.